Welcome to 805 Focus. I'm Dr. Cinder Sinclair with Nonprofit Connect, and we will be bringing you the latest on your favorite nonprofits. So get ready to be inspired. Our special guest today is Ali Cortes, and Ali is Program Manager for Santa Barbara Response Network. Welcome, Ali.
Hi, thank you so much for having us here. We're so excited to, being in conversation with you today.
Yes, and so you folks are doing so much work and such important work. I hardly know where to start. I hope you know where to start. So let's just jump in and tell us about what you're doing these days.
Absolutely. Well, one of the things that we offer our foundation is compassionate social support in the aftermath of a crisis or traumatic situation in the community. Okay. So we bring in psychological first aid trained volunteers to support in the aftermath of a situation that needs emotional support, that needs compassionate support, that needs a safety and comfort after a traumatic event. So we're coming in from the heart. We have trained volunteers and our staff, and we do trainings, we do wellness workshops. We're just really there for the community as a whole, and always to respond from the heart. So in the foundation of what we do, it started out in 2009. I've been a volunteer since 2016. I'm in love with this mission. It does a huge impact in our community to be able to be there.
Wow. So give us an example when you say something happens or an event.
Yeah, we have responded to various crisis situations, from like wildfires to earthquakes to emotional crisis, community violence situations, the debris, like the countless of examples. When a community loses someone due to suicide or just a death or an immediate death of a person or a family, we are able to just come in invited. So we're invited to the homes, we're invited to schools, organizations, agencies, universities. We really respond to a wide scale of situations and events, but we're always invited in and we respond.
So how do people find out about you? Let's just say there's been a fire or there's been some earthquake or something. How do people find out about you to know that they should invite you in?
Absolutely. So I'm happy to say that because of our reputation throughout all these years and knowing that we are a consistent agency that supports our community, it's been a lot of word of mouth, but most of the times they look at our website, they find our number and they contact us. We have a dispatcher. So just so you know, we like to be structured as well. So someone gets the phone call, we take information of what's going on, what are the needs, how many people, what's the language, because we also respond in English and in Spanish. We have volunteers that are bilingual, bicultural. And so we gather information to then know how to support the community. So once we're invited in, that's the phone call, we show up, we always respond as a team. And I like to think of it as, it's like CPR, but for emotions, right? So after a traumatic event, we want to help mitigate that impact, that emotional distress that happens after the loss of a home, of jobs, of people, of hope. And so we come in and we help restore that. And mostly we go back to restoring the resiliency of the community, knowing that they're not alone and that they can get back into their own resiliency and then keep moving forward. But we really mitigate that impact that trauma can happen if it's not responded to or if it's not supported. We have a lot of resources, thankfully, in this community with food, with shelter, water, all these basics that we also support with and partner with these agencies. But we also make sure that we're responding to the emotional needs, the distress, and that sense of you matter and what happens to you and your community and your family. There's somebody here that can support you through the process so you can get back on your feet. And that you know that you're not alone. And that really brings back hope, that brings back resiliency, it brings back connectedness, safety. So it's an honor to be able to do this work in our community.
That is so great. So would you say that what you do is therapy?
It's not. So that's a great question, right? We believe that therapy is so important. Our work is therapeutic. right? So we respond from the heart with compassion, with empathy, and we help connect resources, which could be therapy, right? So if we say, these are some things that we're noticing, here are some great therapists, here are some agencies in the community that can help you with the therapy, but we are a therapeutic impact, where we come in and provide safety and comfort, help de-escalate situations in a community scale-wide. Right? So it could be individual, family, or agencies. It's all connected. But as we come in as a team, we respond to those needs, those emotional needs, some of those basic needs with partnership of our agencies, other agencies in the community. So it's a very therapeutic impact, right? Rather than it's therapy where it's one-on-one or just a family, and we're diving into a lot of, deeper, things that are going on. So we're kind of, I always like to talk about it as, when like CPR, right? If someone were to fall down and someone could provide that CPR because they have been trained, because they know what to look for, and they have that confidence to do that, they can then help that person get to the next level of care. So the psychological first aid support is really important. Also are the other parts. So we really focus on that psychological first aid support.
Can you give me an example of, a time that this happened?
Yeah, there's been so many calls that we get, for example, in a school. So the school is built of so many community members. It's the students, it's the staff, it's the parents, it's the grandparents. It's a community. And so when we're called in, we're invited, they give us the information. Let's say they lost a student for whatever situation it was, and it's unfortunate. It impacts the entire community at that school. So we go in with our trained volunteers, and we provide that psychological first aid support. And so we connect with the individuals, with the families, with the staff, so that the other staff members or the other students can also keep going. So we take care of them. We provide compassion supports, compassion centers, where there's a container where people can come in and grieve, can just be authentically in their emotional state and be cared for, while other parts of the community are still ongoing, right? So it allows people to feel like there's somebody there who can take care of this specific need while we need to take care of these other needs. And then we bring in partners to collaborate to also support the community. So you see, it's all connected. So we're really connecting. We're connectors.
Okay. Yeah. That's a good way to say it.
Yeah.
So you use volunteers. You want people to come and volunteer to help?
Absolutely. We provide that psychological first aid training. We also now provide skills for psychological recovery. So we've been training North County, South County in these trainings, and we offer them through grants, or if agencies also want to donate or support, our organization to do so, because we believe that everyone has these skills, everyone. And so all we have to do is just give it more language, more experience. Our trainings are fun. They're really about community building and also a lot of role playing. But at the end of these trainings, everybody feels that I can participate in the recovery, in the resiliency, restoration of a community. And so that's what we really want to do scale wide, continue bringing these trainings to the agencies, individuals, families, community, for the sake of, our community.
So that's great. So a person could go on your website and they could find out when the trainings are happening.
Yes.
How to get plugged in as a volunteer, how to get trained.
Yes.
Well, I bet while they're on your website, they could make a financial donation.
Absolutely. We really appreciate that so much, because it really, helps us maintain, our ability to continue offering this. It's really an offering from the heart.
Yes.
And so it really helps our organization so much.
Yeah. And so I would imagine you also collaborate with a lot of different organizations.
Absolutely. That is the key. That's what Santa Barbara Response Network, right? So one of the things that gives us the confidence to go in and support is also knowing where we can refer and who. So we're always building that relationship with our partners. We don't just say, here's the number and good luck.
Yeah.
We say, hey, we know exactly who this is, and they can support you with these specific needs. And we give a list of different resources for the community, for the people, individuals, or families that we're serving at that time.
Great.
Yeah.
Well, Allie, I bet you have an interesting story or two to tell us.
Yes, absolutely. There's so many stories, but I think the ones that stand out the most are the ones where when it's after we respond. When we go in, we're really dedicated, we're being mindful, we always being as present as possible for the families or for the organization and to be there. After, we can still get to connect with people. And they come up to us and they say, thank you so much. You have no idea how helpful it was to have you there, to have people that really cared about us, that really showed how much they care about us, not knowing us, but knowing that they were there to really hear us out, to really understand and treat us with so much empathy and dignity during a time that we didn't know how we were going to move forward. Right? It was a big loss. I still remember going into a home that unfortunately had lost their son due to a community violence situation. And we practice our psychological first aid skills often. And in this situation, I remember I walked in and I asked, how can we support you after the invitation? And she said, I lost my son, but I also have another son right now, and I'm scared to lose him. And so we worked little by showing up, building that relationship, being present, being patient, showing so much empathy. And one of the concerns was that he wasn't coming out of his room whatsoever. And so with these skills, we were able to go in and offer the support. And little by little, he started talking to us. And little by little, he started really expressing what his actual needs are and what was his concerns. And we were able to do more referrals. So we went from the stage of, having a disconnect from everything to connecting and restoring resiliency. And now he was being able to engage back in school. He was able to go get invited into the soccer team and play soccer. So just to see, and that's just one of many, 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 many stories. Because when we respond to the situation, but if we're invited back in, we will respond back in, right? Yeah. And that's what ends up happening. We really do that warm handoff support, but we're also getting called back in. So again, that building that community and that relationship is vital in the work that we do. And, it's been wonderful to see that and many of those same stories throughout all these years in the community just happen and being called in and invited back in. And during times that are really, heavy. These are heavy times. Yeah. So I'm really grateful that we have this, and I also can see the reflection from other community members knowing that this exists, that this is ongoing in our community, and that somebody can respond to this because they've been trained, because, they also have, our trainings are really focused also on preventing burnout, talking about compassion fatigue, talking about trauma-informed care, which all those components really provide, again, that sense of, how do I respond? And also, how do I take care of myself? Because it's a give and take, right? So we also take care of our volunteers very much and are there for them as well and support them. And we're always looking for ways to continue building that community and continue enhancing that relationship. And generations, we're seeing, people said, well, this was my grandma, she knew you. Well, now can you support, our the next generation, right?
Yeah.
Our students who are coming up. So it's been also really powerful to have that generational impact in the community.
Gosh. And so you serve mostly Santa Barbara County, is that right?
Yes, Santa Barbara County.
Okay.
So yes, we respond to Santa Barbara, the South County. We've been doing a lot more trainings in North County as well, because again, our goal is for the communities themselves to be able to also respond so that they have that resiliency as well.
Yeah, so then you train people who actually live in each of those communities, so then that can spread. So do you think that this sort of an organization or effort is common? I mean, do most other counties or cities or anywhere that you know of have this sort of thing?
We are so unique. We are so unique. We have been very fortunate to be invited outside of the county to do trainings and to speak about our mission because we are so unique, and we've gotten the compliment of you're light years ahead. Especially after, during the pandemic, we also responded. The after time of this pandemic as well, we are still in a place of not full-on recovery, but re-triggering. So we're seeing a lot of people finally speak more about mental health, seeking mental health support, community mental health resources. So we've been called in a little bit more to just explain what we do, because it is something that is still missing in many other communities. But here in Santa Barbara, we have it. And so we're really grateful to be able to do that and continuously do that, and been existing since 2009 doing this work.
Okay, I was going to ask you that, since 2009. So do you know how it all started in 2009?
Yes. I had to find out, because I started in 2016 as a volunteer, but in 2009, it started from, tragedy, something heavy. There was a cluster of suicides that happened in a community here in Santa Barbara. And so it took a lot of people to come in and gather and say, how are we going to support the families, the community who's impacted, because we're starting to see a wave? How can we help reduce that? How can we help recover? How can we help just be there in a way that's compassionate and change the conversation and bring forward, so that we're dismantling the stigmas around what is suicide, what is, the loss and grieving that we as humans experience after a tragedy, that we experience, in the aftermath of trauma, because it's still an ongoing effect after, many of the first responders leave, or those resources come and go. Who's going to be there after to take care of the community? And so it took a lot of people from different walks of life. We had professors from universities, we had parents come in, they got together, and that's how Santa Barbara Response Network gathered, in response also with the support of the National Children's Traumatic Network. They also bring a lot of resources. So they had Dr. Macy, Dr. Gil Reyes, and Gina Carvalho, community members like Anthony Rodriguez come in and create a structure of holistic care that is also community mental health structures. And so little by little, they developed it, and they were able to support the whole community. And I remember at the time, I was working somewhere else, but I heard about them, and it just gave me peace of mind knowing that the people who were impacted by this, I can refer them to this, that they have support. And there's a phone call, there's a phone line that we can direct them to, and they will have compassionate support, and that will do the support in referring all the way through, so that they can continuously get support after that. So things aren't falling, through the cracks, that they're getting support, so that they feel more restored, they feel more hopeful, and that they were treated with compassion and dignity during that time. So that's how that got started back in 2009, and here we are continuously. And we live in this world right now that there's so much going on. So it's good to know that this resource is still available and will continue to be available in our community, and that other communities are looking for, answers of how we're doing this, because it is making an impact.
We are definitely fortunate here in Santa Barbara, aren't we?
So fortunate.
Golly. Well, okay, we have a couple minutes left, Allie. Do you have, what other message or information would you like our audience to know about Santa Barbara Response Network? Oh my
goodness. Well, I have to say that we are really just coming from the heart, that it is a program that has many different branches in our community. We also serve the unsheltered community. So we have a consistent program that sets up at Alameda Park at 6 o'clock on Thursdays. So if somebody says, I really specifically want to work with the unsheltered community, I want to volunteer, we will train you in psychological first aid, and you can come volunteer. And it's a program that has been making a huge impact thanks to our volunteers, the leadership of Father Bob, and in partnership with other great agencies like SB Act, who are bringing this to a constant resource in our community. So we are partnering with them. We bring psychological first aid volunteers, and community members can come and just talk to somebody, feel heard, feel like, I'm not alone in this, and then get resources. We also have a dedicated fire team that after a fire, right, that there is support for that emotional impact for the families or the community that's impacted by that fire. And so we're also doing that as well. We've been also providing many healing circles in the community.
Okay.
So learning how to cope, learning about that psychoeducation about what is trauma, what's trauma-informed care, how do we do practice self-care. So there's a lot of conversations about, just how do we take care of ourselves and take care of others, and how to balance that as well. So I always like to speak to everyone and say, make sure that you're also taking care of yourself, checking in with yourself. You also deserve resources and, getting the help that you deserve, because this is it's not easy. It's not an easy
Allie,
time.
This is wonderful. Thank you so much for all of this important work that touches so many lives.
It's an honor. Thank you so much for having us.
Thanks for coming on the show to tell us all about it.
Absolutely. Thank you.
And thank you for joining us on 805 Focus, and we'll see you next time.